Hey guys, my name is VaulSC. Hope that you are doing well. Hey, we got a good one today. It's 100 Kingdoms versus Nords in Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings at 1500 points. Playing an opponent who doesn't quite have a massive collection yet to play 2000 comfortably, but he is a good player. Played him a lot in the Infinity days, and this game turned out to be a really nice, close game. One of the best that I've played so far in my short time with Conquest. So I'm just going to dive into it to show you guys the lists and the play-by-play, just as we always do. Let us have a look now at the 100 Kingdoms one. So I might just minimize my cam up here. So I'm playing Veterans, not something I normally do, but I thought I'd just take a break from the Priority Commander group and just try out the Noble Lord a little bit. This is a maximum Noble Lord Knight sort of setup because you have every upgrade that affects the Knights. You've got Veterans, Olefant's Raw, Tip of the Lance on the Mounted Noble Lord himself, and he is a Warlord for Speed of Horse. And then you've got the 4 Knights, couldn't afford the 5th one, with the Veterans upgrade, so they have Clash 3, which is really important because Clash will affect the impact hits and the Clash. Tourney Champion, of course, for the extra charge distance and gain the Veterans bonus. So when you have a lot of Knights together like that with all of the upgrades, they really smash face. But the good design feature of Knights is that you can have the sort of sliding scale between absolute bonkers damage on one end versus absolutely ham-fisted, pillar-fisted, nothing on the other side, where if they're not upgraded at all, they just don't do anything at all except for maybe score quickly or beat up a very, very weak light unit. So that's the play. A little bit less expensive overall than having, say, like one unit of Ashen Dawn, but it's still pretty pricey. Everything else here, really just the smaller stuff, so I can afford that. And the other big thing in the list is the Steel Legion. You've got all 6 of them with veterans in there. Imperial officer can go and join them, but he's sticking around with the Ranger Corps most of the time. And I do like having just the one screening unit of men-at-arms that also acts as a useful scoring unit. We're playing the melee mission, which has these 4 different zones where you can sort of run out of scoring regiments later in the game. So having enough mediums in there is really, really important. My opponent, on the other hand, going for, obviously, his Nords list, very similar to me with the full combat groups, really like that, except he's got one more. So, card activation, I think, really good for Nords. You really want to take a big list and not invest too much in character points. For the last 10 points of his list, I have just selected Tactical Tier 1 for Shaman, so the last 20 points. I don't actually know if that's what he took, though. I didn't receive a copy of his list, but you can see everything there. The Blooded's got Hunt's Instinct. Just a nice all-round, list using all of his models and, with some good features there. Definitely like the Berserks and the Jotnar. But it's just a matter of getting in the right position and seeing if you can really get the work done. Okay, so let's get into this game. I start out with my lights here. You can see that I've got the Imperial Officer in the Rangers. They're going to come on automatically. I'm going to roll for the rest of them. I think I only rolled 1 success for the lights, despite needing 4 or less, so didn't have a massive board to start us off with. That's the opponent there and everybody else. Man, Conquest has been absolute banging lately in Auckland, New Zealand. We have people, getting interested in the game all the time, and people are coming across from Infinity and other systems, so it's just been really, really cool. So there's the Imperial Officer there, just walking on with his Ranger Corps, and of course using Vanguard from his awesome supremacy ability. This is, again, the melee mission, so the objective is right in front of him. This is the smaller 3-inch radius objective. Opposite that, you've got the Raiders. Haven't had their heads installed yet on the miniatures, but that's okay. They are light, so they won't be able to score, but they're just sort of coming in opposite the Rangers, trying to maybe screen for something else or eventually get into combat with them. Moving in with my Squires here, this is really just to help protect from a situation where the Raiders might just come up in my grill. If he comes too close, I'll just charge him, or if he just sticks around, I'll shoot at him, so that's why I'm doing that. And the Squires are just sort of going to be using that house there for a bit of a shield against his Bow Chosen and his other shooting unit, the Stalkers, I believe. I don't really want to just march them straight onto the enemy side of the table at a point where he can easily just bring on reinforcements to counter them. Speaking of the what do you call these guys? The Stalkers with the blooded, they can move in. They have Vanguard as well from the Shaman, so kind of an equally matched army really with the abilities, and they march onto this other 3-inch radius objective, so we'll be even on points. which means that we're tied 2 all going into turn 2. So this time I pick up a variety of things. I've got the knights, as you can see there. We're going to have the longbows and the mercenaries and everything else. So just wasting time with the characters in the first part of the command stack, and the knights will come on last because I really need to see how the board has developed before bringing them in. Men-at-Arms appearing here right behind the Imperial Ranger Corps. This is important because what I really want to be able to do here is to move the Imperial officer away to the side of the table. So I'll just grab my pen. This area over here is the left-hand flank objective, which results in 3 points, whereas this is the smaller one that gives you 2. So the idea is that the men-at-arms can just move up and camp that, and they can just hold the line against these 2 enemy regiments here. The Squires can also charge the raiders if they come too close. But then the officer can actually march all the way over there because he's got double time on his ranges, and they have the liquid formation free reform. So that's the plan. But if he commits too many troops to this left-hand region, I can always just turn around and back off and just hide behind the men-at-arms and wait for backup. So pretty happy with the game plan. Then he's bringing in these guys. These are Huskarls, but he is just using them to proxy as the medium version of the raiders with the captain upgrades. So that's what's going there. The photo doesn't show the Shaman, but he's supposed to be in them. So right after I took the photo, he just put the character in the unit. So to deal with that, moving in with a Mercenary Crossbows, again vanguarding up, these will be quite good at shooting those raiders from a long distance before I can then eventually bring my knights in on this flank. And just hopefully put him in an awkward position where he can't hang back because I've got a little bit more shooting, but he can't come forward because I'll have the knights, so I'm just hoping to put that pressure on him. He is bringing the Ogres onto the left flank here, where I was originally intending on running in with my Imperial officer, but I will still do that, but not immediately. I'll bring something else in, like the Steel Legion, before committing to that flank. But I'm fine with this. He's got the Ogres there, which won't be able to attack anything for a couple of turns, and I can continue shooting through the midfield. Opponent looking here at potential shot options, deciding not to really attack here with the Stalkers. So the ranges of various units sort of become important here, but you can see I've got the Longbowmen in behind the Squires, and they have a very long range of 24 inches. So I'm very happy with their position. They can use arcing fire to shoot over the house at the Stalkers there, or at the raiders if they come too close. And they're effectively protected and screened by all of these other light units nearby to them. So I'm very happy with the longbow position at that spot. Alright, just another view out here. You can see that the Blooded is camping that objective, just opting not to continue moving further forward, and I was pleased with that. I didn't really want to have anything up in my grill, but at the same time, I mean, if he had marched forward, he would have gotten shot pretty badly anyway. But with all 3 of my shooting units on the table, I should be able to really win in the long term, as long as there's not too much development here. So this may pressure him to come across the table a bit more quickly. So again, we have some more shooting going on. The Rangers have the ability to fire in advance, so they will move up, shoot, come back, do a little bit of damage to the Raiders, and the Men-at-Arms just hanging in right behind them. Can't cross to the objective just yet, but they'll have that option pretty soon. Squires also opting to just hang back for a bit. At one point, I know I did move in. I can't remember when that happened. I don't think it was this turn. So then you have the Bowchosen appearing right behind the Raiders, using them as a screen so they can't be shot, except possibly by arcing fire. I can't remember how that works, but the idea is once the Bowchosen have arrived, the Raiders can then move up with the support of the Bowchosen, and Bowchosen obviously will outshoot me, but I do have that forest nearby, which will be very helpful to screen against them. This is the Shaman, which is in with the Raiders, as we talked about. He will be able to cast some sort of spell, possibly defense, onto the nearby Stalkers. And then I'm bringing in my Knights right here behind the Mercenary Crossbowmen. There's just enough of a gap between those 2 impossible object buildings. So there's this one here and this one here. So if they need to charge, they can go directly through that area. And if he doesn't commit too much more to this flank, I should be able to move up and just crush his Raiders and his Shaman, kill his Warlord, and then move into these guys. We are expecting, though, for him to be moving in with something else on this flank. So the good thing about the Knights is I can wait to see what it is, and then maybe reposition and march somewhere else if needed. Or I can reinforce this flank with my last unit, which is the Steel Legion, although they are going to be needed on the left-hand flank, most likely. So that's them. Beautiful little photo here. I use the St. George and the Dragon piece sometimes as Ashen Dawn leader, but in this case it's going to be the Noble Lord. So looking at this, decided to activate the longbows first. I'm not really committing to anything this turn, so longbows are just going to try and get a little bit more damage before he shoots me. So if I win the roll, that'll go into his Stalkers so that he can do less damage from his shooting. Then I'm just going to waste some time with the characters, do some more shooting in the mid-game, and only at the very end will we be bringing on the Steel Legion and the Knights to really make the bigger commitments to the field. So there you are there, that's the sort of outlook, and this is a photo of the battlefield after turn number 2, was it? Turn 2 I think it was. So he wins the roll, and the Shaman puts down reroll defense onto these Stalkers, which is unfortunate for me because I was going to go with the longbows first. So the longbows end up shooting right after this, and they're shooting into a unit that has reroll defenses on their very good evasion, but my opponent still rolled very poorly. I managed to do quite a bit of damage just purely because of luck, really. So there they are there. They've lost a stand, unbelievably, but just because my shooting was just so overwhelmingly just spiked and lucky. So that's what's happened to them. In the meantime, the Raiders just trying to move up a bit closer to that objective on their side to try and pick up the 3 points. On my side, shooting at them with the crossbows, but not quite getting as much damage as I would have liked, despite armor piercing. And then we finally see the Raiders in the midfield moving forward. These guys are going to be trying to sacrifice themselves or just get in the way or just, you know, soak up some arrows while the other two units, you know, counter-attack with their long-range shooting. So we're not expecting to see much from these Raiders this game, but they are a thing. So again, over here, the Imperial Ranger Corps, they can shoot through the forest, mind you, so there's a reduced number of shots, and they will be shooting at this unit of Raiders up here, reducing them to just 2 stands now, so eventually we'll get them. And then the Bowchosen, not quite committing yet. The Bowchosen do have range 14, if I recall correctly. Let's just double check that. It is range 14, but once they do get in range, they do a lot of damage, but he just doesn't want to sort of move too far forward because I've still got the Squires to activate, still the Longbowmen. Actually, no, I don't have the Longbowmen. It's mainly the issue of the Squires charging something. So then I'm moving in the Men-at-Arms right in front of the Ranger Corps now, just because I'm getting to the point where I want to be able to sort of camp that zone effectively. They are defense 3, they sort of have the forest. Hopefully they can survive for long enough and keep scoring. And this is where I may want to use the mobility of the Rangers to get them somewhere else in general. So let's keep going. The Oogers now move forward. They are camping this objective on the left, so my opponent will actually get a really big scoring lead at the end of this turn if I don't do anything about it. Because if you look at the wider battlefield, we've got these guys up here. They are going to be scoring unless I commit my Knights. He's going to get 3 points out of that. And then this is another zone where you get 3 points. Who's going to get 6? You'll still have the Blooded onto that objective for 2. And I'll have my 2 over here. But when you count 3 plus 3 plus 2, that's 8 plus another bonus for having you know, multiple objectives. He should pick up 10 if I recall the scenario correctly. So it's going to be a big lead for the Nords here. So even though I can see where his units are and I've got my Steel Legion still coming, it is still a bit of a problem. So I'm just going to have to think about how I deal with that. So this play here is a bit of a bold one. The Squires, seeing that he's already activated the Bowchosen and the Blooded and the Stalkers and also his Raiders, I decided to march and then charge, doing like a couple of impact hits onto the Stalkers here. And the reason why that this is such a bold sort of play is that if I lose the roll next turn and just get killed, it's going to not matter too much in the long run because I'm still soaking up one of his activations, and I don't really mind losing the Squires. They weren't really in a great position to help out on my side of the line anyway, the light units that don't score. They can also potentially contest this objective here, so stopping my opponent from getting a couple of points. So I decided to make this play. So that's sort of the worst case scenario, but of course the best case scenario is that I win the roll next turn, completely wipe out his Stalkers. These are veteran Squires, by the way, and then I can simply move out of line of sight of the Bowchosen and not quite get killed and just sort of hold them up for a couple of turns. So in terms of risk versus reward, the reward is very, very, very high, and the risk is very, very low. So that's why I felt like this was a good play. If you can continue making plays like this throughout the game, your opponent's continuing to win the supremacy roll, then you're sort of staying even. But then if they lose one supremacy roll, then you just murder them. So I kind of like that style. Over here we have the Fenr Beasts supporting the medium raiders with the Shaman. So they'll be annoying. The Knights don't really want to get charged in the flank by them, but the Knights will still be able to beat them if it's a frontal assault, just due to their high armor and their overall durability. We have the Steel Legion showing up. These should easily be enough to defeat the Ogres and just camp that objective. So in the late game, I am happy that I'm going to be scoring on that zone. It's just a matter of holding the line in the center and finding out a way to get the Knights delivered effectively. But as you can see here, the plan is to attack the Ogres with the Steel Legion, obliterate them, and then turn them around and march them into the center of the table, while the Imperial officer uses liquid formation and double time to basically turn this unit around, move them over here, because at the end game they're not going to be as effective. They're just going to be sitting and camping this zone very, very cheaply, and then the Steel Legion are going to march around into the center of the table over here. Cool. Just as an aside, I know it was announced recently that there's going to be a bit of a rules change in terms of how characters belong to a weight class, like medium, light, and heavy. So in all the bat reps I've shown in the channel up to this date, you've got medium units joining light units, medium characters joining light units, and using them to score objectives. And that's not going to be the case after the new patch. So if you're watching this bat rep, months down the line after it's been posted, and wondering how this works, well, in the current game of the current state of the game we're playing, your medium character can join a light regiment, and the character has its own weight class, and it can count for scoring, which up until now has been very, very good. So 100 Kingdom's about to get a bit of a nerf. The Giant now appears right behind the Shaman's unit, and this is a problem because with such good cleave on the Giant, the Knights will get pummeled here. So this may result in me just leaving this flank for a bit and letting him take it, because he committed his Shaman and his Fenr Beast and his Giant. So what I could do is just wait a bit, have the Steel Legion clobber the Ogres, and then move the Knights to the center. That may be a long game development, but you can also see how there's the Squires there. If they win this, they may be able to move to the back and tie up the Giant while a Knight moves in. So there's a few options. Knights, again, just repositioning very slightly. We're not committing them at this point. Or at least I believe it might have been the activation for the Mercenary Crossbowmen. Can't quite remember. So then he decides to bring in his Bearsarks with, I might add, Vanguard from the Shaman, and they have Bloodlust. So this allows them to march and then charge. And he decides to commit them in here to try and block my play with the Squires. So if he wins the roll, he'll be able to just kill me very, very easily. And I think this play is kind of cool. It means that he reduces the risk of the Squires winning the roll and doing a lot of damage. Although, to be fair, if I do win the roll, I'm still going to wipe out his Stalkers unit most likely. So I don't really mind. And then that's just going to keep his Bearsarks occupied for another turn. So realistically, I'm okay with this play because, well, from my perspective, because I was sort of a bit more worried about the Bearsarks dealing with the Knights and then the Giant going after something else. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Also, the Bearsarks going through the middle may be a bit more vulnerable against all the shooting I've got there, like the Rangers and the Longbowmen. So it is a play. You can see here I've got the Squires wanting to go first because, again, that makes a big difference, and the Knights wanting to go last because what I could do is sort of a play similar to what I did with my other unit of cavalry, where they march and then charge, obliterate something with impact hits, and then he's got no activations left, and then the following turn I can use, if I win the supremacy roll, I can just immediately turn around and charge something and kill an entirely new regiment, or if I lose the supremacy roll, hopefully their high armor will be enough to protect them to fight for a little bit. So, unluckily for me, my opponent does win the roll and activates the Bow Chosen on the left there. It does shoot over top and basically murders the Squires, so they've only got one stand left. This was a good play because it means that he saves his regiment of Stalkers effectively and just negates the damage I would have done with the Squires. And it also means that if I had won the roll, he can still do something freely with his Bow Chosen, whether that's to shoot the Squires or something else. So it was a good play, but yeah, again, he did have the dice advantage, so yeah, we were expecting him to win this roll. Actually, no, I believe I had the dice advantage at this point because everything's on the field. So it would have been either even or advantage me, but I did lose. I can't quite remember what the situation was there, but I remember thinking to myself that if I had won this roll, it would have been I would have been at an advantage. So over here, he's actually activated his ogres first before me, and then he's pulled backwards. So that's forced me to march charge with the Steel Legion rather than just charge clashing. We talked about this afterwards. I told him that I think the better play would have been to attack the ranger unit that I've got up there. You can't really see it very effectively in the photograph, but that is a unit of Imperial Ranger Corps, and the Steel Legion, the front of them was just sort of back a little bit further. So what he could have done is he could have charged the Rangers through the forest. Wouldn't have been able to do impact hits, but he would have been able to clash and do damage to them. And if he can wipe them out, that's me losing a Warlord, and it means that I wouldn't have been moved onto the zone with the Steel Legion. So there's a bunch of things that he could have gotten away with there. But at least, you know, he's still got the ogres. It's going to take me another turn to kill them, and I am going to be scoring here. Over here, we have the men-at-arms attacking the raiders. The raiders, of course, are reduced to 2 stands, so they do get the +1 attack here. Fun little play. My opponent didn't really like the heads that come with the raiders, so he's thinking of using some resin ones for that. Great photo, though. Over this side, we have the Mercenary Crossbowmen, again, shooting at his units here. I told him later that I really felt like a good play for him might have been to... for him to march up with the dogs, like the Fenr Beasts, and just come into the front of the Mercenary Crossbowmen without clashing, and that sort of creates a traffic jam where the knights can't move past them, forcing me to just withdraw with the Mercenary Crossbowmen and sacrifice them, so that could have been a good play. Over here, the Squires, yeah, so there's only 1 stand here. Can't really get much damage done, and his Stalkers should be able to take them out no problem in close combat. Over here, I've got my Longbowmen who unleash a volley of shots into the Stalkers, finishing them once for all. They only had a couple of wounds left, so they are gone burger. Now I can focus my attention on the Bearsarks, which are just right in front of me, which I can shoot without even having to volley. I mean, arcing fire is what I meant. So Bearsarks turning around. This was an interesting rules question here, where the situation was that they started in this other position around here, and we checked for Bloodlust. They failed the roll, and my opponent was thinking, well, it'll be good to move directly towards that unit, but these guys are closer, so does he have to wheel around like that, or does he still have to move forward? So I posted a question on the rules forum, and you know, a couple of people thought different things, but the comment that I remember reading was that they have to go towards the men-at-arms, but I still don't really feel like that was quite resolved. Over here, the men-at-arms have dealt with the unit of raiders, so that's a thing, and now they're about to get pummeled by the Bearsarks, and I do mean pummeled. I mean, it is cleave 2 with line breaker from those Bearsarks, so the men-at-arms will get no saving rolls whatsoever, but great little photograph, good lighting. The Imperial officer, just having a think about what to do here, I considered moving around a little bit and shooting the Bearsarks, but likely going through the forest there would mean that I would get like 1 or 2 wounds and only trigger the extra damage that they do, so I just didn't bother. So I've marched sideways twice. I've used the free reform to just shorten the unit a little bit, and this puts them all entirely in the forest, so if they continue shooting from here, they won't be penalized by the forest because all of the stands are in there, which helps, and against the Bowchosen, they will get the defense. Giant just sneaking around a little bit. No, sorry, that's not what's happening. The Shaman is putting down an activation and getting the reroll defense on the Giant, and I think the Raiders are moving just very slightly across to shield him a little bit. So couldn't quite remember the play, but that's where they've ended up. The Fenr Beasts are moving around. This is good because it sort of nicks them in range of that little zone there, so it keeps the points flowing. And if I move the Knights into the Raiders, which I'm considering doing, he can charge me in the flank, so good positioning here from those dogs, but we'll see. Now the Giant, this is the important one, decides just to turn around and go towards the center, and his line of facing is now beyond the house, so the Knights won't get countercharged by the Giant, which is a big deal, but the Giant can now go after the longbows in the background and start scoring here, so it's still a powerful play from the Giant, but it does give me the opportunity here to march in and charge with the Knights, which were easily in range because they have such good bonuses for charging, and this quite easily wipes out the unit of Raiders. And the Shaman, of course, netting me lots of points because I've got the Steel Legion on the left, I've got the Knights on the right, I've got the big zones, I've got multiple zones, I've killed a unit, I've killed his Warlord, so the points just shoot way ahead. I'm far in the lead at this point in the game. But the other reason why I've done this play is that it means that if I win the Supremacy roll next turn, the Knights can simply reform and then charge the Giant and kill the Giant as well. And if I lose the roll, the Fenr Beasts charge me in the flank, possibly wiping me out, but I think statistically it's not likely that they will, and then I can continue fighting them and shooting them with the crossbows, and there's a reasonable chance of me actually, winning this flank with the Knights, having the Steel Legion on the other end, and just basically winning this game outright. So that's why the Knights go first, and then Men-at-Arms against the Bearsarks, Steel Legion after that, and everything following that. And my opponent does win the roll. So this means the game continues. It's going to be a very close game now. But you can sort of see why I made that play with the Knights. It means that if I lose the roll, I don't lose the game. But if I win the roll, I do win the game. So let's talk about this situation here. And I'm going to get out my calculator, because this is quite important. You've got the Fenr Beasts. Let's go and have a look at them, who are Clash 2 with Charge 2, so Inspire be Clash 3, they have Opportunists, so they're going to reroll all their misses. They got 6 attacks, no leader. So the Knights themselves, though, they are 4 wounds each, and I've got 4 of them. So 4 4s are 16, and that's the amount of wounds that this unit needs to do to completely wipe them out. The Noble Lord will be removed if the Knights are killed. So you have 3 times 6 attacks from the side there, and half of them are going to hit, so divide by 2, we're expecting 9 hits, because they're going to be Clash 3, because they are normally Clash 2, but they have Inspire, and they can reroll the missed ones. So if we take 9, and we take half of that, so plus 4.5, we're expecting 13.5 hits there, and they ignore the shields, so the Knights are going to be Defense 3, so they should be able to block half of this. So if we divide that by 2, we're expecting to get 6, 7 wounds through, and then we're going to take some resolve checks. Now this is going to be bad, because the Knights, even with a Lord there, are resolve 3, and the Fenr Beasts are terrifying, so that's going to mean I'm saving on 2. So we're going to be making 6 or 7 rolls, saving on 2s, but the 1s and 2s have to be re-rolled. So let's be generous here and say that I fail absolutely every resolve check. That's going to double the amount of damage here, so times 2. So we're expecting 13.5 wounds worth of Knights inflicted at the end of the day, and we talked about 4 times 4 being the number of wounds. Whoops, 4 times 4, so 16 there. So I should survive this with 1 stand left, and that should allow me to rally and then clash with 1 Knight, maybe doing a little bit of a wound on the Fenr Beasts, and then the Mercenary Crossbowmen can shoot at them. Gives me a chance to win the roll next turn and move around them and attack them. And that's the reason why I made this play in the first place. But the dice absolutely cave in, and all the Knights get absolutely wiped. So the Knights are completely destroyed. My opponent is back in the game now, and this is going to be real. So the Bearsarks fighting the Men-at-Arms. Men-at-Arms can't do any damage here. They're just really pathetic. He's using Blessed here for the defense, and then he can just mop me up with the attacks. Steel Legion have destroyed the Ogres after taking a bit of damage from them, and then reforming so that they are facing towards the Bearsarks. So again, the plan is about to kick in. The Giant is too far away, so we're going to march the Rangers over to this spot here, and that's going to be really cool, because the officer is going to be able to score from that location. The Men-at-Arms, these guys can just move in and start beating up people in the center, and that's going to be the overall game plan. So Bearsarks activating and wiping out the Men-at-Arms very easily. Then the Giant able to march through and set up a position to go after the Longbowmen. They are now shooting at the Bearsarks, reducing them to, I think, 1 stand left, which is significant. We don't really want the Bearsarks to be able to get another round of combat off. Opponent decides to march and then charge with a Giant. The forest is blocking his impact hits, so he won't do any damage there, but it does stop me from potentially marching away with the Imperial officer to that left-hand objective like we were talking about. So good play there by the Giant. I decide to use my Indomitable ability to pass the combat withdrawal and move away. This is kind of helpful, because it means that the Giant can't just clash, kill them, and then charge something else. So he's going to, at the very least, have to march, charge, and deal with these guys. And they are still in a position where they can score, because they've got enough meat left, enough medium in there with the character. Okay, Bearsarks are trying to move around. They are still broken, so the Bow Chosen also moving in and doing some shooting, and they can try and go after the Steel Legion, but won't be able to do much damage until they can get in a position to aim. We have the Mercenary Crossbowmen. They really dearly need to get some wounds on the beast, but at this point they're kind of whiffing their attacks, so this is problematic. For this situation, the Fenr Beasts can easily beat the mercenaries in the long run, but can they afford to spend that many turns away from the objective? I'm hoping they just sit there and I eventually shoot them. He will net a lot of points, but for the last couple of turns of the game, he might not be able to after I shoot them, quite a bit. Imperial Officer now making the play to seek new escort over to the Steel Legion. Again, this video is being filmed 10th of February, so this is before the new patch, but by the time you guys watch this, it may not be possible to do Seek New Escort anymore. I'm not a huge fan of that. I think Seek New Escort is really cool, and I'm trying to use it while I can. But it is what it is. In this game, I'm allowed to do it, but in the future, I won't be able to do it. And just preserving the sky is kind of important. It means that these guys will have indomitables, so if they get into combat later, they're going to benefit from that. And I know that I'm going to lose the Rangers in a moment anyway, so there is that. But there is also the possibility of him leaving the Rangers alone and then the officer coming back into the Rangers later. So, we're going to activate the Mercenaries first to shoot at the Fenr Beast before they get charged, and then everything else is going to activate. The Longbowmen have been, they're in combat, so they'll happen towards the middle. Giant now moving in, so I think he had to turn around and charge them, so the Longbowmen are just clashing him, basically. Over here, we have one Fenr Beast taken down by the Mercenary Crossbowmen, so that's quite important. We want to be able to force them to take as long a period of time to kill these guys as possible. They are mediums at the end of the day, so we do want to deal with them. They charge in, and we'll be seeing a bit of a brawl going on for a while there. Then we have the Rangers turning around and able to shoot the Berserks, just trying to get as much damage on them as possible, because once they're removed, the Steel Legion go after the Bowchosen, and I can hopefully net a lot of points in the long game. So Bowchosen able to move around and shoot. You can see the Berserks don't have many wounds left, but I'm going to start losing a lot of Steel Legion soon from this unit, because they are quite lethal. The Giant, I think he's activating here and killing the longbows. Can't quite remember the exact situation. Berserk's now realizing that they're going to get shot, so they're just going to turn around and go after this objective, but they are broken at the moment, so won't be able to score because he needs to reform and move to get around here. But I'd love to just be able to pick them off with something, but I'm just losing all of my options for range at this point. So with that in mind, we're actually marching the Imperial Officer back to the Rangers, realizing that actually what we do need is to be able to double time them over to the objective, and I'm still scoring with the Steel Legion, so we're just camping there, but I'm running low on Steel Legion. They've only got 3 stands left, so you can sort of see that they're going to die to the Bowchosen eventually. So the plan is to actually charge the Bowchosen with the Steel Legion, and then come over with the Imperial Officer later. So that's what happens. So I'm not going to be able to score that big zone, but the thing is, if I win the roll, I can delete the Bowchosen, and the Officer can move over and start scoring again. The Steel Legion can kill the Berserks, and that should net a win. So that's why the Steel Legion have to go first, but again, the Bowchosen win the roll once again. So my opponent, there have been 3 crucial turns where he needed to win the Supremacy roll to win, and he won 3 out of 3 of them. So the Bowchosen activate. They are quite good in close combat, so they do a lot of damage here. The Steel Legion strike back, and they have 7 attacks with Veteran, so they hit with all of them. And my opponent rolls very well on the resolve. Otherwise, I could have actually killed this unit, which would have been insane. Doesn't quite happen though. So there's them attacking. Fenr Beasts dealing with the Mercenary Crossbowmen quite effectively, taking a little bit of damage in the process, but they will kill them. And the fact that they've got the free reform from Liquid Formation is going to allow them to get back to that objective quite quickly. So it is a bit of a problem. He is going to be scoring a lot of points. As predicted, the Imperial Officer able to use double time and the free reform from the Rangers just to march over, just to get into range, to pick up that 3 points. Very much needed, because the score is almost tied at this stage. And then the Berserks can rally and move on to this objective here to get a 2-pointer, with, of course, the Giant able to secure points as soon as he turns around. And look, this is pretty much it. I do end up losing this game very narrowly. You can see, if you look very closely on the scoreboard here, I'm actually keeping track, and at the end of turn 7, I've got 35 points, he's got 34 points, but we still have several points left of scoring. So what happens here is that I've got 3 points a turn on that side. The Giant's going to be able to turn around and get 2 points here. The Berserk's going to be able to rally, get 2 points here. And the Fenr Beast, after they've murdered the Crossbowmen, they're going to be able to rally and move over here to get 3 points. So it will swing back to the Nords massively. But you can sort of see that if I'd won this roll here and knocked out the Bowchosen, then the the Steel Legion can move over here and kill the Bearsarks, and they can start scoring 2 points a turn. I can still get 3 points a turn over there. The Giant, if he moves anywhere, will leave this zone, so he may not necessarily want to, plus it'd take a while to get over. And the Fenr Beasts, it'll be another turn before they can get over there. So the chances of me winning there, it's definitely a possibility. I don't know quite if I would have pulled it off, but I was looking pretty strongly at it. Overall, though, this was a cracker of a game. This was just probably one of the best games of Conquest that I've played yet. It was fun, it was close, it was tactical, gave us a lot to think about. You know, I look back at the lists, I see changes I could have made. Dice didn't matter. If I had won the Supremacy roll after the Knights had charged and they'd come around to kill that Giant, it would have been over 100%. If I'd won the Supremacy roll with the Squires early on, that would have built up a lot of momentum for me earlier in the middle, which would have impacted the later game quite a bit. And that Supremacy roll with the Steel Legion versus the Bow Chosen, if I'd won that, I might not have won the game, but it definitely would have been much closer and certainly possible if everything had gone right for me there. So one of the best games of Conquest you can play, the close kind. Hope you guys leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you with some more content very soon.